Good morning, Life Point Church. How are you today? I love that response. Thank you so much. My name is Lacey Asfresser, and I'm the group life director here, and we're so happy to have you with us today. A few things you may have noticed is this Sunday we are giving our LP Kids and Students Ministry a break for all the hard work that they do each Sunday. And in the lives of our kids, it is a well-deserved break. So we're happy that they are able to worship with us today and have our kids in here with us today. Another thing we'd like to do is just say thank you to those of you who are coming here for the very first time today. We're so glad that you are choosing to be here and worship with us today and to have an encounter with the God that first loved you. We're so glad that you're here with us. And if you haven't already stopped at our new Here tent, which is right outside, I'd encourage you to do so. That way we know who is with us today, how we can pray for you, and that we can give you a little gift to show you how much we appreciate you. If you want to find a few things that are going on around here at LifePoint, I would ask that you scan the QR code on the chair in front of you, which will take you to our weekly digital guide. And on there, you will find a couple things, whether it's regarding our students, upcoming events, or anything you want to know about LifePoint. And one of those such things is our upcoming baptism, which will be happening July 21st. And we're doing things a little bit differently this time. We will be having baptism in between services, but outside. Ooh, that sounds fun, right? It's different. We like to keep things fresh and move in here. So this is a great way if you are interested in taking your next step and where God is sending you. This would be great. And you can find out more information on signing up for baptism through the link on the weekly digital guide. Or if that Sunday you just feel led to be baptized, we will have people to talk to you in between services to tell you more about what that looks like. We'll have towels here, extra clothes, or at least extra shirts. We take care of all of that for you. We don't want there to be any barriers between you and the next step God is calling you to take. So I don't know about you, but I just have been loving the song in between services, ushering us in, getting us excited to worship with each other and to our God. And so at this moment, I'm just going to let our worship team take it from here. Thank you all. Enjoy your Sunday.
my sin anymore. Should I fall in the space between what remains of me and this reckoning? Either way, I will bow to the things of this world. Oh, and I know I will never be alone. There's another in the fire, standing next to me. There's another
Hey, when was the last time you were really angry? I mean, you were really, don't answer out loud, but when was the last time you were really angry? And how do you normally react? What do you normally do with your anger? I'm going to tell you a secret. I enjoy animated movies. I really like cartoon movies. Sometimes I like taking a nap during cartoon movies. One of the biggest movies of this summer is Inside Out 2. It's a cartoon movie. The first Inside Out movie begins telling the story of a young girl, Riley, and how she handles different complicated emotions that are rising up in her. And Inside Out 2 gives a whole new set of complex emotions that she has to figure out how to deal with as she's growing up. And if you ever watch these animated movies, you probably find a favorite character, one of those emotions living inside Riley's head that just kind of attaches itself to you and that you identify with most, and that's true for me too. So this morning, I want to introduce you to one of the characters from Inside Out that I kind of connect with the most. This is my favorite character and a couple clips from Inside Out.
Riley, if you don't eat your dinner, you're not going to get any dessert.
Wait, did he just say we couldn't have dessert?
That's anger. He cares very deeply about things being fair.
So that's how you want to play it, old man? No dessert? Oh, sure. We'll eat our dinner right after you eat this.
Riley, here comes an airplane.
Oh, airplane. We got an airplane, everybody.
Sorry, hold on. Hello?
Wait,
You're kidding. Stall for me. I'll be right there. The investor's supposed to show up on Thursday, not today. I gotta go.
It's okay. We get it.
You're the best. Thanks, hon. See you, sweetie.
Dad just left us.
Oh, he doesn't love us anymore. That's sad. I should drive, right? Joy, what are you doing?
just give me 1 second. You know what I realized? Riley hasn't had lunch, remember?
Hey, I saw a pizza place down the street. Maybe we could try that.
Pizza sounds delicious.
Yes,
Right,
pizza.
that's good.
What the heck is
Who
that?
puts broccoli on pizza?
That's it. I'm done.
Congratulations, San Francisco. You've ruined pizza. First the Hawaiians, and now you.
Whether we want to admit it or not, whether we like it or not, all of us, we all have a temper. We all have to figure out what we do with our anger. And we all have differing degrees, and maybe we respond typically in different ways to anger, but anger is a real emotion that we have to figure out how we're going to manage and cope with and deal with in life. And there's a long tradition of music that helps us express or cope with our anger in life. There's all kinds of angry songs. Like whether your favorite musical style is Alanis Morissette and her Jagged Little Pill, or it's Beethoven's Dun 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 in the Fifth Symphony, or maybe it's any of Eminem's songs, or maybe you're in your Swiftie era and it's all about Bad Blood. There's always a song that helps us express our anger. And way before any of those musical styles, we can find a collection of angry songs in the book of Psalms, the songbook for God's people. And it's kind of startling as we're reading along in the Psalms and then we find one of these hate songs, that's full of these vivid expressions of anger. But these songs are really valuable to us. They can help us understand how to deal with the anger that we experience in our own lives. And we're going to explore one of these songs today. We've been journeying through this road trip during the summertime with the Psalms. And today we're finding this little bump in the road where we discover an angry song. These are called imprecatory psalms. And we're going to explore Psalm 109 together this morning. And we're going to try to analyze our own anger and understand a little bit of where our anger is coming from and what it is and what we can do with it, how we can deal with it. So if you find your way to Psalm 109, you might want to reference this song as we spend a few minutes talking together. And you can also follow along on the screens as I read. We're going to sample parts of this chapter. We're not going to read the whole thing. I want you to do that on your own. In fact, This week, if you go to our website, the lifepointchurch.us website, if you're watching right now, you can click the guide that would take you to discussion questions for our groups to use as they discuss this psalm, but you could use these individually too, or you could follow the link to the digital guide and find your way to those questions and read the whole thing this week. We're just going to sample the beginning, middle, and end, parts of the beginning, middle, and end of this song in order to give us a good sense of what's going on here. This song begins, "My God whom I praise," or "God of my praise, do not remain silent. For people who are wicked and deceitful have opened their mouths against me. They've spoken against me with lying tongues." And this psalm begins like a lot of songs. It's addressed directly to God. This beautiful opening statement, "O God of my praise." And then David, the psalm writer, he begins opening up his complaint to God. And this continues through verse 6, where he's describing these people who have been attacking him and opening their mouths against him and trying to undermine him. And he describes this with some kind of detail. And then there's a shift beginning in verse 7, where David begins to describe what he would like to see happen to these people, exactly what he wants God to do to all these people who have been attacking him. There's also a change in number. The psalm changes from singular or from plural to singular. You see the plural here, and then it becomes singular. And that's been difficult for translators to figure out how to use, and that's one reason we're using the New International Version this morning. Let's keep reading the middle part that contains part of these desires of David. "When he is tried, this person who's attacked me and opened the mouth against me, let him be found guilty, and may his prayers condemn him. May his days be few. May another take his place of leadership. May his children be fatherless and his wife a widow. May his children be wandering beggars. May they be driven from their ruined homes. May a creditor seize all he has. May strangers plunder the fruits of his labor." This is pretty harsh, isn't it? I heard some of you respond, "Whoa." These are not normally the prayers that we make in church, right? I mean, how often have you heard a prayer like this when you come to worship? But this is David's honest expression of what he was feeling and of what he really wanted God to do for those who were attacking him. This is a powerful statement. Parts of these verses are actually picked up by the Apostle Peter in Acts chapter 1. This section, "May his days be few, another take his place." Peter took up this phrase and applied it to Judas, who had betrayed Jesus, and included that. He was thinking about this psalm as he thought about Judas and what had happened to Judas after he betrayed the Lord and betrayed all the disciples. So let's keep reading and come back to the final part of this prayer. After from verses 7 to 20, David asks God to jump in and take revenge. He says, "But you, sovereign Lord, help me for your name's sake." Comes back to God's name, talks directly to God. "Out of the goodness of your love, deliver me. For I am poor and needy, and my heart is wounded within me. Help me, Lord my God. Save me according to your unfailing love. Let them all know that it's your hand, that you, Lord, have done it." The beginning and the end of this song, it's bookended with this direction back toward God and who he is. And David is coming back to the reality of who he's talking with. He's acknowledging the deep pain and neediness that he's experiencing, and he's asking God to jump in and be a part of his life. Now, some Bible teachers and commentators, when they discuss and have taught about psalms like this one, and these are smart people, smarter than me, more mature in faith, people like C.S. Lewis or Martin Luther, the great German reformer, they would say that these psalms really have no place in the life of a Christian, in the life of a Jesus follower, that they can help inform us or instruct us about the way that anger works in our life and about how destructive it can be, about how destructive it was in the life of David and others who wrote the Psalms. But they would say, look, don't talk like this to God. and I can't help but disagree with them. Now you're free to make up your own mind, and you're going to decide how you want to talk to God. But I suggest that these psalms, these songs, these prayer songs that were private expressions of faith intended for public use and worship can actually inform some of our private conversations with God. Before Megan and I had kids, we talked about the kind of family we wanted to develop, and I remember Megan talking about how she wanted our house and our relationship with our kids to be a safe place for them to express really anything. That they would need to do that respectfully and with kindness, but we wanted our conversations and our relationship with our children to be a place where they felt freedom to ask any question, to voice any feeling that they might be having, and that we would need to be grown up enough to handle that. And I think that says something about the way we can relate to our Heavenly Father, our Father in heaven. I can't think of a safer place to voice my anger than in the ears of my Heavenly Father, who deeply understands every experience of life and of my life and of the life of those people that I might identify as my enemies, people I might even be praying against. I think these Psalms remind us that God is interested and deeply invested in the details of our life. And He's the one who's the sovereign king. He can do whatever He wants. He's not obligated to do something because I ask Him to do it. He's going to accomplish His good will and His good purposes in my life and in this world. But I think there's no safer, better place for me to deal with some of my more difficult emotions than in talking to my Father. And so today, I want us all to try to analyze and figure out our anger and what it is and why we have it and how we can manage it and how the ways that we express our anger plays an important part in our life of Jesus following and in our relationship with God, and maybe even what God can do with our anger that rises up inside of us. So I want us to ask 3 simple questions and come up with a little bit of a response that helps us manage our anger in healthier ways. So first, what is anger? Now, do you think of anger immediately as a negative, wrong kind of expression? I think a lot of us probably do. We immediately think of anger as an evil thing. And there's some biblical reasons to do that. There's probably some reasons in our own life experience that we think of anger that way. Maybe we experienced anger expressed in very unhealthy ways, or maybe we were taught that we were never allowed to be angry and express our anger. But in the scriptures, James, Jesus' brother, he wrote a letter and he said that the wrath of God doesn't work out, the wrath of man doesn't work out the righteousness of God. Anger can be very harmful. But I'm suggesting to you that anger in and of itself intrinsically is not morally good or evil. It's something else entirely, and it's really what we do with our anger, how we respond, how we manage, how we express, that determines whether or not our anger can be destructive or actually constructive and positive in life. I want you to take a look at a few words that the Apostle Paul had about anger in his letter to the church at Ephesus. This is from the Message translation. It's very dynamic. Go ahead and be angry. You do well to be angry, but don't use your anger as fuel for revenge. And don't stay angry. Don't go to bed angry. Don't give the devil that kind of foothold in your life. We could define anger in a lot of different ways, but here's one suggestion. Anger is a notification demanding your attention. It's a sign, a signal that something has gone wrong, that something needs your attention. Now, you get phone notifications all the time, right? I mean, you might be getting them in church right now and you're ignoring them because you just want to pay so much attention to what I have to say. And sometimes we ignore those notifications that we get. But if you get a notification repeatedly and your spouse is calling you or texting you, then you better pay attention to that. Like, that's a notification that you should not ignore. And when we feel anger rising up in us, I think that is an emotional notification that there's something in our life that we need to pay attention to. There's something internally or there's a problem externally that we need to focus on. There's something going on, and it might even be hard for us to figure out what it is. And maybe even our anger is at something that's not the real problem that we need to be dealing with, but anger inside of us is an emotional response that tells us there is something I need to focus on and pay attention to. Now, if I allow anger to always be in the driver's seat, then I'm going to end up using my anger in very inappropriate ways. And if I respond out of anger to try to take revenge or hurt other people around me or even hurt myself, that's an inappropriate use for anger. But anger in and of itself, it's not morally evil or morally good. It's neutral. And how we respond to our anger really depends on whether it's destructive in our life or in the lives of other people, or if it can be constructive to help solve a problem that we're getting a notification about. Now, the second question, why do we feel angry? Now, if we did a brainstorming session, I mean, hopefully at the beginning you thought of something very specific that has made you angry. Maybe you thought of multiple somethings that make you angry. We could probably come up with all kinds of very specific things or reasons that make you angry, like your brother or politics, or you got dragged to church this morning, or whatever. There's all different kinds of things that make us angry. But I think there's 4 big buckets or categories that most of our anger can fit into. And you can probably figure out how your anger might fit into one of these categories or create your own categories. Stress, fear, stress or frustration, fear or anxiety, injustice or unfairness, and then pain, hurt and wounds. These are 4 big categories for our anger. You know, this week I was really trying to pay attention to my anger, as I've done before at different times in my life. And I realized that every time I go into a grocery store, I get angry. I feel angry. I really feel like there's some diabolical mastermind genius who has designed all supermarkets in order to make it impossible for me to find the thing that I'm supposed to get. And it's not a question of like, if I'm going to find the right thing or not. It's like, which wrong things am I going to buy and how many of them am I going to take home? And then they make it so helpful, like here's an app. You can download this app to find things in the store. And then the app will take you to the wrong places and you still find the wrong things. And every time I go in a grocery store, I start feeling frustrated and stressed out. It is not my place. And I start feeling angry. Stress and frustration can give rise to anger. We can experience that in relationships, at work. I mean, how many of us get angry when we're driving because of stress and frustration? This is just part of life. And then when we're afraid, we tend to become angry. We see all of these in the life of David, by the way, throughout Psalm 109. I mean, David was the king. He had some stress in his life. David was afraid for his future because other people were attacking and undermining him, and he was afraid for his throne, his reign, his dynasty, for very good reason. And when I'm afraid about my future or the future of the people that I really care about, if I'm consumed with anxiety and worry, then anger is going to be on the rise. And then injustice and unfairness. If that's injustice that I'm experiencing or somebody else is experiencing, I get a notification signal that something is going wrong and I need to pay attention to it, and what am I going to do about it? This past week or 2 weeks ago, I was able to be part of a LifePoint global trip to Guatemala. And injustice just slaps you in the face when you have an experience like that and see the different life experiences of different people who are living in very different conditions than we tend to enjoy. And there was one morning, I was glad nobody was sitting next to me because I just felt really angry. And I spent some time with God talking about his reign and his authority that I want to see happen on this earth immediately, and the injustice that we often experience. And then pain. Deep pain. David pointed to this at the conclusion, the verses that we read. He talked about the deep pain and hurt that was in his heart that had given rise to his anger and motivated this prayer that he recorded for us in Psalm 109. When somebody, when you get hurt and somebody says something that just strikes you the wrong way, or you stub your toe in the dark, you stub your toe in the kitchen, you're going to get angry for a moment, right? That's pretty normal. But sometimes there are very deep wounds that we carry around with us that create a crater, a well of hurt and wound and anger that rises up volatilely at different times. And we have to figure out what we're going to do with that pain and that wound in order to manage and process our anger. Now, think back to that thing that you identified that made you angry, or different times that you've been angry. Can you figure out if they fit in one of these 4 categories, or maybe you would come up with a category all of your own? What is anger? Anger is really a notification. It's a signal that something needs our attention. There's something in some part of our life that's going wrong, and we need to pay attention to it. There might be a problem that we need to solve. There might be something internally that's problematic that we haven't really sorted out and figured out, and we need to pay attention to that problem and try to deal with it. There might be a wound that needs to heal. There might be a conversation we need to have. We may need to move toward forgiving someone for pain that we're carrying around that causes us anger. And most of our anger, it comes from a few common sources. Stress, frustration makes us angry. And when we're afraid or full of anxiety, we tend to be angry. Angry can end up in the driver's seat. Injustice and unfairness in our life, in this world, in the life of somebody else, and then deep pain causes anger. And this third question, if all this is true, if it's even close to being true, even if it's not very true and you disagree with some of it, how can we manage our anger? What are we going to do with it? How can we faithfully deal with our anger in our relationship with God? How can we helpfully and constructively work with the anger that's part of all of our realities and all of our personalities? I want to give you 4 different steps that we can take, that we can practice to move toward managing our anger effectively. First, feel your anger. Give yourself permission to be angry. I think this is an issue for some of us, not all of us, but for some of us, we don't feel like we're allowed to be angry. Maybe we've identified anger as this powerful emotion that it's not safe to have or to express. It's possible that we've experienced anger from other people in very unhealthy, unhelpful ways, and that's affected the way that we think about this emotion. Or maybe somewhere along the way we picked up that we don't know how to express our anger, and so it's better not to feel it at all. And for a lot of us, there are difficult emotional responses, including anger, but also things like sadness or grief that we believe it's just not safe to experience. So we have to give ourselves permission to feel angry. This is something that Barbara Brown Taylor writes about in one of her books, Learning to Walk in the Dark. And I want you to see this quotation. After years of being taught that the way to deal with painful emotions is to get rid of them, it can take a lot of reschooling to learn to sit with them instead, finding out from those who feel them what they have learned by sleeping in the wilderness. Emotions like anger, sometimes we just want to get rid of them. But if we're going to manage them effectively and find a way to be constructive and faithful with feelings like anger, we first have to feel that anger. We have to give ourselves permission to be angry, but we don't stay there. Second, expose your anger. You know, sunlight is an antiseptic. That's why farmers, a wise farmer, before they plant, it's one of the reasons they're going to turn the soil up and till the soil and let it air out, and also let the sunlight burn off anything unhealthy that's growing in the dirt, any potential diseases or fungus that's in there. The sunlight can act as an antiseptic to cleanse the soil. If we're going to figure out how to manage the powerful emotion of anger in a healthy way, we have to expose it to the light. We have to expose it to God's light. And that means uncovering our sources of anger and revealing the ways that we normally process our anger. You know, we talked about those different sources of anger, of frustration or stress and injustice and fear and pain, or our own wounds that we're carrying around with us. Sometimes we have to dig deep and deeper than the surface to figure out what's making us so angry. And if we're living with anger as a constant companion, if we feel like the devil does have a foothold in our life, it would be wise for us to dig a little bit deeper internally and figure out what it is inside of us that's causing that wellspring of anger to keep bubbling up. There might be some experience in our life that we've never really fully addressed or dealt with. And we also need to figure out and reveal, how do we normally manage and deal with our anger in ways that might not be the healthiest? Some of us, we tend to process out loud and externally. And we tend to blow our anger out at other people. And we express our anger externally. We might bulldoze other people or shout at other people or curse. We might even move toward violent or abusive actions. Anger, uncontrolled, can be incredibly destructive. And maybe even for some people, we might think of our anger as a good thing because it helps us get whatever it is that we want. Like Riley, who didn't want to eat the broccoli, and then she settled for the little airplane. In ways that are far less entertaining, maybe we think of anger as a good thing that helps us get our way and control other people or manipulate other people or bully other people into doing what we want them to do. That's not a healthy way to express and deal with our anger, letting our anger out on other people so that it hurts them. But it's also unhealthy to stifle and suppress our anger and turn it inside. And some of us might do that. We deny that our anger exists, or we put a lid on it and we don't really find a way to name it or to express it, to uncover the causes. We just lock everything down tight because there's really good reasons that we keep stuff buried deep inside and we don't want to let that stuff creep out. And anger turned inward can be just as destructive in the inner life of an individual. It can just create an internal fire that destroys our inner sense of purpose and identity and character and worth. Anger that's turned inside, it can become a sense of endless anxiety and worry about our future and everything that's going on. Or it can result in inner wounds that become depression and send us spiraling down into a complete loss of who we are and our sense of purpose. We don't want to stifle our anger. We don't want to just give vent to our anger so that it destroys other people. We want to uncover and expose the causes for our anger and try to deal with those individually. And third, we want to be able to express our anger in healthy, constructive, helpful ways. We don't want to stifle it. We don't want to burn other people. We don't want to leave scorched earth and scorched lives behind us, but we do want to express our anger in ways that are respectful, that are kind, but that also deal with a specific problem. Remember, anger is a notification that something needs your attention. And sometimes there is a problem that we can get involved with or even solve. I want you to see what Pete Scazzero wrote about some of these difficult emotions like anger in his book about emotionally healthy spirituality. To feel is to be human. To the degree that we are unable to express our emotions, we remain impaired in our ability to love God, others, and ourselves well. Why? Because our feelings are a component of what it means to be made in the image of God. To cut them out of our spirituality is to slice off an essential part of our humanity. I wonder how this lands with you. Most of the time in our Christian circles, we've elevated our intellect to be superior to our emotions, and our emotions are something that our mind is supposed to control, or maybe even that our behaviors joined with our thinking is supposed to manage. Scazzero is arguing for something different entirely. He says that God made us emotional as well as thinking beings, and that part of faithfully following God is following God with our emotions. Have you ever thought about the fact that in the Gospels, Jesus was angry more than once? Jesus saw the house of God being turned into a profitable business instead of a place of worship, and he overturned the money changer's table. Jesus looked around and he saw a crowd of people, of mostly religious leaders, who were questioning him in their hearts, not out loud, but in their hearts. And he was full of indignation and anger, and he spoke out against them. Jesus saw a tree, a fig tree, that he thought should have fruit on it for him to eat as he passed by, and he came up to it, it didn't have any fruit, and so he cursed the tree, and then he used that moment as a teaching opportunity for his disciples. Jesus found a way to deal with difficult emotions in a healthy way, and he's our model for how we can even figure out how to manage and express our anger. Fourth, leave your anger with God. This is part of the great value of Psalm 109. This is really part of why I wanted us to talk about this psalm, because I'm convinced that songs like this give us a model for how we can manage our anger in relationship with God. I have used language of the Psalms in my personal private prayers from time to time when I've been feeling really angry. We can trust God with our deepest, darkest, most difficult emotions. He is the safest place for us to go when we're feeling really angry or frightened or hurt or anxious or stressed. We're not going to tell God anything that he hasn't heard already. And so we can bring our anger to God and we can leave it with him. We can process it with him, and we can ask him to guide us in how we respond to those notifications in life and those particular problems that we might need to get involved with in our external life, or the work that we need to do in our internal life to handle some of those categories or buckets or causes for our anger. In the movie, both movies, Inside Out and Inside Out 2, this little girl, Riley, she moves toward maturity by learning how to express and cope with all these different difficult emotions that are rising up inside of her. And we can take our next faithful step to move toward maturity in Jesus by figuring out how we deal with some of our difficult emotions like anger. If anger is something that you've struggled with or you feel you've identified as a problem in your life, here's a little project for you this week. Make an anger log. Log every time that you are feeling angry. You can do this in a journal by writing it down. You could even do this mentally and by trying to pay attention and make note of, oh, okay, I'm getting angry now. And then move through these different steps to try to analyze and uncover, why is it that I'm angry? What kind of notification am I really receiving? Like, what kind of problem is there that I need to pay attention to? What do I need to do? What's my next step with God as I process and deal with this anger? Because I don't want it to destroy my inner life. I don't want it to destroy my external life. I want to be faithful as I manage my anger. And hey, as we're wrapping up, here's just one bonus question. What difference does Jesus make? When it comes to Psalms like Psalm 109, when it comes to difficult emotions like our anger, what difference does Jesus make? Jesus is the one who took the wrath of God against all sin, against all rebellion against him, against all wrong and evil. He took the wrath of God in our place and experienced judgment for us so that he can redeem and call to life all of us, even with our difficult and complicated emotional conditions. What difference does Jesus make as we understand Psalms like this one, and also as we process our own emotions like anger? Oh, God of my praise, you are the one who reigns forever. You're the one who is reigning over all places, at all times, in all things. You're the one who's the king. And yet in our life experience, we often, very often, we experience the real lack and desperate need for your immediate reign and your immediate authority in our lives and in our world. That makes us angry because we feel afraid, we get stressed out, we see unfairness, we experience pain. And so we bring our anger to you, and we ask you to help us deal with difficult emotions like anger faithfully in your presence. You're the one who makes the darkness tremble at all times, whether it's outside of us or whether it's inside of us. And so we are yielding to your reign and to your presence right now.
You've even gone to win my
You know, we all come to this place from different places, and wherever you are in the journey of finding Jesus or following Jesus, we want to help you on that pathway. And there's people on either side of the worship center space who'd love to pray with you and talk with you as our service concludes, whether you're thanking God for what he has done in your life, or you're asking him to intervene, or maybe you're finding your way to trust in Jesus for the first time, just beginning on this new relationship with him. Find one of those caring friends, caring folks on either side of the worship center space and pray with them and talk with them. And if you're new here this weekend, you know, I realized as I was standing over there, this would have been such a good weekend to go long, like to talk as long as I wanted, because there's no kids meeting this week, but chalk it up to a missed opportunity. But next week, our kids ministry will be back up. Yeah, you didn't laugh very much at that. You're like, no, don't do that. Kids ministry will be back up and running next weekend. If you're new to Life Point, be sure to visit the tent that you'll see over on your right as you're exiting out of the lobby space. We'd love to get to know you and help you find your way, answer any questions that you might have. And we would love for everybody to be part of Life Point Loves. We want to be a church that demonstrates Jesus' love to everybody in our community. We want people to know, people who live around here, that Jesus loves them, and so do we. So does Life Point Church. And so I hope that you'll look into Life Point Loves. This is something at the end of the summer where we're trying to help families be prepared for the coming school year. You can walk down to the table at the end of the lobby and pick up a card, or use the digital guide and find some shopping lists of household goods and items or school supplies that we want to give to families who may need a little bit of extra help as we're moving toward the school year in August. So I'd love for you to be part of Life Point Loves, because we want to be a church that makes a difference in our community. And I look forward to seeing you next weekend. We're going to wrap up and conclude this series, our road trip through the Psalms, with a psalm of praise, a beautiful way to end this series. Now, may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God our Father and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Amen.